Hello, folks. This is Anthony. Do you have stuck augers and want to know how to remove them from the auger gearbox shafts? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's say you broke a shear pin on your auger and the auger's stuck on the gearbox shaft, or you've decided to remove the augers and the impeller to do an impeller kit, maybe. Or you can see from this one, it's all rusty and everything, and it's got all kinds of crap stuck in here. Both shear pins have been removed, but the augers do not move freely. They should spin freely along the shaft, the auger gearbox shaft. So I'm going to show you how to quickly how to remove the auger assembly, and then I'm going to show you how I get my augers off. I've done this dozens and dozens of times. I have to thank one of the subscribers to the YouTube channel for bringing this up. A couple members from the Honda Snowblower enthusiast group on Facebook have always also asked me how to get these augers off, because a lot of times they're stuck. Usually on the older Hondas, where water will get in there, get in the shafts or whatever, and some rust will build up on the auger gearbox shafts, and then these won't turn freely with the auger shear pin out, and they need to be able to turn freely. So I mean, that's the whole idea behind the shear pin. Okay, so let me show you really quick. I already did a little bit of preliminary work here. I don't think you guys want to watch me take 5 minutes to remove this, so I'll just tell you once again how to remove this. You can remove the impeller shear pin, or you can remove the pin up here where it's connected to this is your impeller, your blower, and it's connected to your auger gearbox by another bolt right here. So I usually remove the impeller pin because I want to remove the impeller. But in this case, I remove this pin up here. And then all you have to do, this is a HSS models, hydrostatic models. You got 3 bolts here and 1 in the middle on both sides. And you can just remove both sides, the 4 bolts on both sides, remove the impeller shear pin or the impeller the impeller bolt right here, and it just pulls right out. And it may be a little bit different on the HSS models. And when you're talking about the HS 50, 55, 70, and 80, unfortunately, you have to remove well, actually, you don't have to remove the bucket, because the buckets on the older machines, like my old 80, this is 3 pieces. You've got one. This is one piece. The other side is another piece on the older machines. You can remove the sides of the bucket, and then you can remove the augers that way. I've never done that. I mean, I usually just remove the bucket because I'm doing so much other work to the machine. But this will just pull out. Let me see. Come on, baby. There you go. So this removes like that. So what I'll do now, I'll stick it in the vise. And sometimes you don't even have to remove the augers. You need a lever. Like I use this 4-foot metal pole, or you can use a 2x4, a long 2x4. Stick it in the augers and try to free up the augers that way. And a lot of times that will work, but in this case, these 2 cases here, I'm going to be servicing these augers, and I'll show you in a minute why they need to be serviced. So I put it in the vise here, and then I use my trusty liquid wrench penetrating oil which is reasonably priced. It works most of the time. I buy this stuff by the case. I spray it in the top here. I got a straw. I'll put the straw down the hole here at the end of the auger, and I'll spray a bunch of penetrating oil. And I'll let it sit for a couple hours. Sometimes it takes a couple hours, sometimes it takes a couple days. I mean, in some cases, depending on how stuck they are, it can take quite a while. And some people like to use heat, like they will heat up the shaft here. Let's see if I can get my fingers in there. They'll heat up the shaft and everything, but I don't like doing that, because if you do that, you're going to put a lot of heat on the auger gearbox shaft, and on the inside of these gearboxes some oil seals. So if you heat up that shaft too much, you could melt your oil seals, and then you got a whole bunch of other headaches taking this apart just to replace oil seals. So I try not to use heat. I mean, I got more patience than most, so I'll spray some penetrating oil in here. I use my lever, and I'll try to break it free. Now, sometimes it won't break free. Sometimes if it moves just a little bit, then I know I'm going to be pretty successful. So I move it back and forth. You can see it's moving a little bit. I can, at first it wasn't moving. I tried doing this about an hour ago. It wasn't moving, but since the penetrating oil is starting to work, I can move it back and forth, and I can rotate the auger. So now I can move the auger pretty freely, and I can try to lift it off. Now I may need some pry bars to get under here and try to pry it, or I'll use a rubber mallet, and of course I can't find my rubber mallet, so I'll use this. I got this other 2-pound mallet, and I will knock it from the bottom here and try to move it. If it starts moving, then I know I'm going to be able to do it. Otherwise, I'll just keep on moving it around, maybe spraying some more penetrating oil in there, and then I'll lift it off. So you can see all the rust. You see how all that rust? That rust was what was keeping the auger from turning. So what I'm going to do with this auger, if you look at these holes, they're really, really bad. Look how bad these holes are. They should be circles, but these are pretty bad. And this is probably why the owner's breaking a lot of shear pins. So what I'll do is I'll weld these holes back up, or some shops will just weld a washer on top of the hole. But you got to make sure that the hole lines up with the auger gearbox. But that's and then I'll clean this out. I'll spray some lubricant in here, and then I'll use I got a drill, and you can use some steel wool or some kind of wire brush, and I put this in here, and I'll clean that all up after I do the welding. I'll clean this all up, and then I will I'll clean up. Here's an auger gearbox right here. You can see how it's got some rust on the ends, just like the one. And I'll use another drill with a wire wheel, clean this all up. Or you can, most people just have steel wool. I mean, that's what you can use too, some steel wool. And then I'll use some copper anti-seize grease and put the grease on the gear shafts, the gearbox shafts, all 3 of them, okay? You can see I got a lot of work to do with this one. I got to clean this up really, really well. These augers need to be welded up, and the shafts need to be cleaned up. And you can see these augers. A couple of them are bent. They're all rusty, so it needs a lot of work. Here's your auger uh, bearings on the sides, and I can take a small pick and pick off that little rubber cover there. I can check inside the inside of the bearings. This one feels good, but I'll take the cover off and see if I need to put some more grease in it. I'll put some fresh grease on the bearings, and as long as I'm not feeling any resistance or any up and down play on the race here, this bearing can be reused. Okay, so that's another thing you can do. But the main point of this video is getting these augers out. Let me see if I can take this off and get the other side off. I can take it off, put it on this side here. I'll take that part out. But anyways, I'll do the same thing on this end, see? I'll spray some oil on the top. Spray a bunch of oil in there. Make sure it's in the vise nice and tight. And see if it's moving, but I can feel a lot more resistance. So I'm going to have to let this percolate for a little while. I'll let this sit for a little while, and then I'll be able to turn it with my my lever down here. You can use a 2x4 or some kind of pole. I'll stick it in here and get the auger turning around nicely, and then use my rubber mallet to pop it off the gear shaft. Now, like I said before, this is for HS models. HS models are a little bit different. Fairy Godmother hasn't sent me an HSS model for quite a while, so there's a little bit of difference there. You remove the auger shear pins and make sure that the augers are turning freely, and then you can see if you need to take the augers out. Now, a lot of times, I posted another video that if the augers are turning freely when they're still in the machine on the HS models, you can take this bolt out on the end, this one here that's in the middle there, and you can spray some lubricant inside the shafts so that the auger shaft will stay nice and lubricated. But like I said before, you need a lot of patience sometimes. I mean, this will be stuck. I mean, just absolutely stuck. And you're going to have patience. Put some penetrating oil in here, let it sit. I take a hammer sometimes and I'll just tap this. Let me see. I got my brass hammer. And I'll tap it all around a bunch of times, for a couple minutes. And sometimes that will loosen up the rust. And sometimes it takes a couple days. I mean, I've done this for a couple weeks, just kept on doing it, kept on banging it and trying to loosen it with my 2x4, and eventually it will come free. And if it won't come free with the augers in the bucket, and you want to do some more servicing on the augers and everything, then I highly recommend that you pull the augers out, you pull the impeller out, and clean all this up, get them off, clean it all up. You can see rust here. There's probably rust on these. Of course, there's going to be rust on these. You clean it all up like I showed you, and put some anti-seize grease on here. So if this video helped you, let me know. If you got any ideas how to do this better, let me know in the comments of how you've done it in the past with success. I really appreciate the audience and the members giving me ideas. I didn't know this was super important, but people have been asking me about this, so it gave me the idea to do a quick video on this, so you can remove your augers, service the augers, fix the holes that are elongated, perhaps put an impeller kit on the impeller. To me, it's a lot easier putting. See, this needs a little bit of work too, cleaning up, and it's easier for me to put the impeller kit on this. I can put this in the vise and drill the holes and install the rubber paddles. You know, there's all kinds of rust in here that has to be cleaned up. So thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe and hit the bell notification. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much.